Hello, what is an embryonic pregnancy? What is a blighted ovum? Stay with me today, and today we are going to talk about what an embryonic pregnancy is, and also some places you'll find that they call it a blighted ovum. So today we are defining what an embryonic pregnancy is. We are defining what a blighted ovum is. Stay with me today, and please don't leave. An embryonic pregnancy is when the gestational sac forms, the placenta forms, but the embryo does not form. Please, let's repeat this again. An embryonic pregnancy is a situation, or it's a type of pregnancy whereby the gestational sac forms, the placenta forms, a woman gets all the signs of pregnancy, but the embryo does not form. In other words, the baby does not form in the gestational sac. It is a serious case, and normally it can go on unnoticed, and you may really think that probably the pregnancy is normal, and yet the pregnancy may be having issues. So today we are talking about an embryonic pregnancy, also called a blighted ovum, and today we are going to talk about the specifics, how it is caused, and how can you tell that you have an embryonic pregnancy. And of course we shall also look at the solutions and any other related advice that may be really necessary, and that is very key that you need to know. So we are going to begin with an embryonic pregnancy. Normally when a woman gets pregnant, many times she will be assuming that everything is okay, but after doing an ultrasound scan, an ultrasound scan is the examination whereby it's an examination done in hospital where images are taken of your pregnancy, and specifically if the report comes out and the report is saying that you have an embryonic pregnancy or even you have a blighted ovum, the two words mean the same thing. A blighted ovum is the same as an embryonic pregnancy. So please let us not confuse the two words, the blighted ovum and an embryonic pregnancy. They mean the same thing. So what this means is this: if at all the pregnancy, fertilization has taken place, ideally the gestational sac is supposed to come through the fallopian tubes. Fertilization normally takes place in the ampulla, that is the junction of the fallopian tube, and then the fertilized egg is supposed to travel backwards and onto the uterine wall or your uterine lining, also called the endometrial lining. So this fertilized egg, ideally it is supposed to attach. It attaches onto the uterine lining, and then growth begins taking place up to that period when you will be ready to give birth. So ideally, specifically in an embryonic pregnancies or a blighted ovum, what happens is this: the fertilized egg comes in, it attaches onto the endometrial wall. If this is the endometrial wall, it attaches onto the endometrial wall, and then it begins actually to go through the whole first stages. You can even actually get the implantation bleeding, and you can even do the pregnancy test, either the urine test or the blood pregnancy test, also known as the HCG serological test. Both these tests will be positive. But what happens is that the gestational sac will be increasing in size. It will even be having what we call amnion, or the fluid that is in the gestational sac. You will see the ultrasound scan will show that there is fluid in the gestational sac. There is actually the gestational sac is present, the placenta has formed, but there will be no live embryo in that sac. So normally this is when your sonographer or the doctor who has done the ultrasound scan will give a report that you have a blighted ovum or an embryonic pregnancy. An embryonic pregnancy, in summary, is when the embryo has not formed. I think at this point we've understood it very well, that this is when the embryo has not formed and it's just an empty sac. So we need to look at what could be the causes of a blighted ovum, what could be the causes of an embryonic pregnancy, knowing that the two words mean the same thing. Normally the causes the cause of an embryonic pregnancy or the cause of a blighted ovum, according to the available data, according to the available literature, they tell us the cause is unknown. Actually, the cause is unknown. Up to now, the cause is unknown, but there are some predisposing factors that could be contributing to an embryonic pregnancy or a blighted ovum. These factors include genetic chromosomal abnormalities, or specifically it could even be that there are issues in your genes. There could be issues with the paternal side, that is the father's side or the mother's side, but normally it is attributed to chromosomal abnormalities. The other contributing factor could be due to what we call poor quality of the eggs, that is the eggs of the mother, of the woman. The eggs may be of poor quality. And then the other contributing factor is it could also be due to poor sperm quality. So the causes of an embryonic pregnancy are not known, but it is normally, or it has contributing factors, and these are: 1, poor egg quality, poor sperm quality, and then also it could also be due to chromosomal abnormalities. How can you determine, how can you identify that you could be having any of these contributing factors? Because there may be clients, there may be women who have had more than an embryonic pregnancy. First of all, before we go to how to test for these causes, we shall first of all put this straight, that if you have had an embryonic pregnancy, and if at all this has been identified and they have worked on you very well and you've got better, you should know that there are high chances that you can go on and get pregnant again. There are very many chances. Many women have had one blighted ovum, they've had one episode of an embryonic pregnancy, but they have gone on to get pregnant once again and they have healthy babies. So whenever you have been told that you have a blighted ovum, you should not really you should not really lose hope. You should not say that now you are not going to get pregnant again. No, you can get pregnant, you can go on and have healthy babies. So we are going back to how to identify that you could be having the other contributing factors we talked about, that is the poor sperm quality, poor egg quality, and the genetic abnormalities. We are talking about the investigations of a blighted ovum, and the first investigation or the first test that will be done in hospital, your doctor or your gynecologist will order for. The first test is called the pre-gestational screening test. Pre-gestational screening test, or PGS. Pre-gestational screening test, simply they look at the chromosomal makeup of your embryos before implantation takes place. They look at the chromosomal makeup of your embryos before implantation takes place. There could be something with the chromosomes, there could be something with the genes. Actually, in some countries they call it a genetic screening test. So depending on your country, if at all the facilities are available, your doctor will order for a blood test whereby they will look at your chromosomal, the chromosomal makeup or the genetic makeup of your embryos, and then thereby determination will be done. Either there could be some extra genes that are really attached onto the embryo, and there could be an extra chromosome. Normally it could be due to extra chromosomes. For example, if at all maybe the embryo is supposed to be having the X and Y chromosome, then if at all this test has been done and there's a double X and a Y, or a single X and a double Y, your doctor will explain all this, but these are the makeups, the chromosomal makeups of your embryo. Then if at all there are extra chromosomes being attached, then appropriate treatment will be given by your fertility expert. This video is for educational purposes only, so always make sure that you consult your gynecologist, your doctor, so that they can go on and give a detailed version when they have also examined you face to face. So the next test to identify if at all you could be having contributing factors is what we call, we've talked about a genetic screening test. The next test is what we call a semen analysis test. Semen analysis test. Here, a sample of the semen or a sample of the sperms of your male partner are taken in the laboratory, and then they are assessed for quality and quantity. You will discover that if at all the normal sperm quantity is supposed to be 7 million, 70 million, up to 170 million, depending on your country, depending on the lab you're testing from. If at all the normal is supposed to be 70 to 150 million being produced in a normal adult who is able to make a woman pregnant, and the test shows that you have maybe 5 million, and yet the normal is supposed to begin at 70, then we will actually make a deduction. We will make a conclusion that yes, there's what we call low sperm count. And in cases when low sperm count has been identified, then the appropriate treatment will be given. And treatment normally for low sperm count covers 3 factors. Normally it covers lifestyle modification. You could be doing activities that lower your sperms. For example, masturbation or excessive masturbation can lower your sperm count, and in most cases it can even make your prostate gland to increase in size. All these can have long-term effects. So if at all you have been masturbating, we advise that you find ways of staying away from masturbation. And normally staying away from masturbation, you have to go through a process whereby you have to even go through your spiritual, you need to talk to your pastor. If you're a Christian, you need to talk to your church leader. You need to talk to your elders about this and discuss ways of like staying away from masturbation, because it's a bad habit. So we talked about the causes of low sperm count, and we said that it could be due to masturbation, but also there could be some activities that could be lowering. For example, in a man who is working in an environment where there are lots of fumes, lots of toxic elements, toxic gases, then in the environment where they are working in, then you may discover that these can have long-term effects on the sperm quality and the sperm quantity. Also the diet. There are diets which are not really good, so you need to really look at diets or foods that increase your sperms. For example, more of proteins in your diet are very good for you. You could also eat some fish. For example, the salmon, they are really good, and even the tilapia. You could also eat some groundnuts or many of the legumes. They are so good in improving sperm quality. The next cause of a blighted ovum or an embryonic pregnancy and how to discover it, we talked about it, and we said low sperm count. We've explained about that. We talked about the genetic and the chromosome abnormalities. The last one is poor egg quality. And normally in women who have poor egg quality, there's a test called the FSH, or the follicle stimulating hormone test. Also, there are some doctors or gynecologists who may opt for other tests. For example, the anti-Mullerian hormone. They can also test for the follicle stimulating hormone. So, thank you once again, and we were talking about the tests. Thank you for staying with me. We were talking about the tests that can be done, to really identify what could be causing the blighted ovum or the anembryonic pregnancy. We talked about the low sperm count. We talked about the poor egg quality. We also talked about the chromosomal abnormalities. So what we are going to go on and discuss is, if at all these tests have been done and the cause has been identified, then treatment can be given. So the next step is, how can you prevent? Basically the management. We are going to talk about the management of a blighted ovum. Normally the management is divided into 3. The first step is, you may be told to wait, and to wait for it to come out, for the pregnancy to come out by itself. So this is really not advisable. Really, there are most mothers who decide to really terminate the pregnancy. They may agree with the doctor that the termination can be done, but sometimes a woman may decide and say, let me wait for it to come out by itself, because in most cases it tends to the pregnancy tends to come out by itself in form of a heavy period, and then you may get all the signs of a miscarriage. So the management is, you may be told to wait so that it comes out by itself. The other management is you may be given medication so that it actually comes out. These drugs can be given by your doctor. And then at the next or the last step is they may perform a procedure on you, also known as the D&C, known as in full it means dilation and curettage, whereby they will expel the pregnancy, the remains of the pregnancy manually in the theater, and all this has to be done by your doctor. So after this process has happened, it's really advisable that a woman takes time for her body to heal and recuperate. It's advisable that a woman takes time for her body to heal and recuperate. Recuperating meaning basically to have yourself to get back to the normal. And we advise that at least you should wait for 3 consecutive menstrual periods, and give your time, at least wait for 3 to 4 menstrual periods before your body, you can go on and have another pregnancy. And during this period, you should use it to do some tests to really discover what could have caused the blighted ovum in the first place. Because if you do not do the tests, you check for the low sperm count in your male partner, check for the egg quality in the woman, check for genetic or chromosomal abnormalities, there are high chances that it can easily happen again. So it's always advisable to use this period to take time and find out what could have caused this. So during this period of waiting of 3 consecutive menstrual periods, you can actually also work on your diet. You should have more of proteins. You should have more foods that are having that contain folate. For example, spinach is very good. You could eat some fish. You could eat actually most of the foods that contain lots of proteins. And then the other thing is you can also get a prenatal supplement from a nearby pharmacy. That supplement, these prenatal supplements should be containing folate. Folate and folic acid is very important in making sure that your next pregnancies will go on up to term or up to 9 months. So during the period of waiting for the 3 consecutive periods to go through before you get pregnant again, make sure that you work on yourself. You actually have to work on stress, because really stress is all over the place, and you can use this period to work on stress. And the ways of managing stress, you can actually avoid the stressor, you can alter the stressor, you can even adjust to the stressor. How can you adjust? You basically have to understand that people are not perfect. People have weaknesses, and we can, if at all these are people close to us, we can learn ways of living with them and adjusting to the stressor. So the other thing is, we talked about stress because a woman who is stressed normally has high levels of cortisol in her body. Cortisol is a hormone, and normally it may not be really good in the areas of getting pregnant. Ideally, a woman is supposed to be having enough progesterone to help her carry on with the pregnancy. The next step you can do is you should use this period to exercise. Exercise yourself. Do not do excessive exercises, but at least do workouts. For example, aerobics, jogging. You can even skip the rope. This period is so good because when you are exercising, there are lots of feel-good hormones, also known as endorphins, that will be produced, and these can help you feel much better, feel much healthier, and have that big smile, which will help the next pregnancies to go on. Because ideally, a woman who is happy, a woman who is free from stress, and a woman who is hopeful and expectant of a positive outcome, normally their pregnancies go on up to 9 months. And a woman who puts God first. So it's very important to understand this. We've talked about a blighted ovum, and we've talked about a blighted ovum and embryonic pregnancy is the same thing. Please, when I mention blighted ovum and an embryonic pregnancy, I'm meaning the same thing. And we have said that this is A blighted ovum or an embryonic pregnancy is when the pregnancy forms, the gestational sac is present, it is even containing that fluid called amnion, it is even having a placenta, the womb is even having a placenta, but there is no live embryo. Or, in simple terms, an embryonic pregnancy is when the baby has not formed. The sac is empty. We say that it can be identified by having or by undergoing what we call an obstetric ultrasound scan in hospital, and normally your doctor will confirm this. And then the other thing is, we said that there are causes that can be attributed to a blighted ovum, and the first cause is there could be chromosomal abnormalities, and then also it could be due to low sperm count. It could also be due to poor egg quality. Low sperm count, poor egg quality, and then chromosomal abnormalities. And we say that these can be tested in the laboratory. Your gynecologist or your doctor will order for these tests, which will be done. And then we say that it can be actually terminated. The doctor can tell you to wait for it to come out. And the other thing which I had not talked about, I'm sorry about this, basically whenever you have an ultrasound scan to confirm that this is an embryonic pregnancy, always it's advisable that your doctor who is doing the scan, ultrasound scan, gives us the age at which they've confirmed that this is an embryonic pregnancy. Because if at all the pregnancy is still at, let's say, 4 weeks or even 3 weeks or even 2 weeks, we cannot really confirm that this is an embryonic pregnancy. It could be a sac or it could be a baby who is growing, but really maybe it is too early for the embryo to form. So to confirm that this is an embryonic pregnancy, it's advisable that the scan, if at all they did a scan at 4 months, it's advisable that a repeat ultrasound scan be done at least at 8 weeks and 13 weeks. Please, this is very key. This is very important, because if at all you have an ultrasound scan at 2 weeks or 1 week or even 3 weeks, and then a report comes out that you are having an embryonic pregnancy, and at 2 weeks really it's basically a sac. So we don't want pregnancies to be terminated very early, simply just because maybe the report came out at 2 weeks and they said that you have an embryonic pregnancy. The age of confirming that this could be an embryonic pregnancy, ideally it's supposed to be at least beginning from 8 weeks up to 13 weeks. And so this can differ in many countries, and you just have to follow what your doctors will advise, but at least at 8 weeks, if at all there's no live embryo at 8 weeks, and maybe 8 weeks up to 13 weeks, if there's no live embryo from 8 weeks up to 13 weeks, then there are issues. But also in some countries, confirmation can be done at 6 weeks. 6 weeks, that means that is 1 month and 2 weeks. So ideally, if at all at 6 weeks onwards there's no live embryo, then there could be it. Thanks a lot for staying with me in this video lesson. We've talked about anembryonic pregnancies, and we've talked about it. And please have yourself a fantastic day, and remember to like and subscribe to our channel so that you will be able to get new videos we put out every day. And remember to share this video amongst our friends, like and subscribe for new videos. Have yourself a fantastic and healthy day. I'm Gerard Massa. I'm a health educator, and the name of the channel is Gerard Massa, the health educator, on YouTube. Have yourself a fantastic and healthy day. God bless you. Bye bye.